and why now?
East African countries, Uganda, Tanzania, and Kenya, in the 1970s had a cooperation which collapsed. Under the guided leadership of President Owere Museveni in 1999, the East African community was reformed. Because of its good work, Burundi, Rwanda, and Southern Sudan have since joined. Now, the East African Assembly, the East African community was established under a treaty. Under that treaty, we have what we call the parliament of these East African countries, or what we call the East African Legislative Assembly, where member states send members. That assembly is part of the 7 organs that make up the East African community, because we have the summit, we have the coordinating committee, the Council of Ministers, the East African Court of Justice, the Secretariat, and the coordinating committees, or the sectoral committees. Those are the 7 organs. Now, the East African Legislative Assembly, for purposes of Uganda, has 9 members that come from Uganda. NRM as a party has had 6 members. One of our members died, Honorable Kasamba Mathias. May his soul rest in peace. I think DP has the Honorable Mbide, UPC has one, and the Honorable Nakauchi is an independent. That is the composition. Of course, it depends on the numerical strength of the parties represented in Parliament. Okay. So now, the treaty and the enabling law, once a member dies, the member state is obligated to fill that position. Hence, this by-election that we want to fill to replace the slot that Honorable Kasamba used to occupy.
Okay, so you're looking to replace Honorable Kasamba of the NRM? Of the NRM,
yes.
And all of you are coming, running on the NRM ticket?
Absolutely.
Okay, all of you to replace Kasamba. In 2012, I looked at the race for Yala, and Kenya alone produced about 119 members of parliament, 119 contestants for those 9 slots, for those 9 seats. And it was, of course, shredded down to about 60 members of parliament, rather 60 contestants. In this particular, when you talk about a by-election, and I think we're supposed to have elections of all members of Yala next year. I'm thinking so.
Their term ends December 2022.
The term ends
this current term, yes.
2022. So we have about 1.5 years for that to run. And for just this particular by-election, I've had over 10 already.
Actually, 23.
You are 23.
By the close of expression of interest yesterday, because our party laid out the procedure that we are going to follow. The chairperson, Electoral Commission, Dr. Tango Doi, gave us the guidelines. We are supposed to express interest. After expression of interest, the names are going to be forwarded to the Central Executive Committee. Once the names are in the Central Executive Committee, of course, they will do their deliberations. And then those that they feel meet the criteria will be sent to the NRM caucus of members of parliament, who we shall go campaign, then go down to the polls. The person who emerges with the highest number of votes will be the winner.
And out of 23, you're looking for only 1 person to replace Matia Kasamba.
Absolutely.
I'm thinking SEC might maintain all of you, the 23. And it now becomes even tougher. It becomes a cause. And I'm looking at it. What is in this thing that all of you at 23 very able brains, very able bodies, very astute Ugandans, all of you at 23 want just one particular slot. How should we understand this?
Personally, because I cannot talk for the other 22,
for the 22.
Personally, as in Subuga, I think it is a question of service. You know, you reach a certain age and know, I have done this, I have done this, this is my experience, I've gone through this, so probably now it is time to offer myself to serve my party and to serve my country. You'll understand in 2021 we had elections for members of parliament. I had a constituency, actually, in Mukono, where I was going to run for parliament. I chose not to. 2 reasons. 1, probably I saw that I was best suited for the East African Parliament, and 2, because
Which
of
constituency was that in Mukono?
That was Mukono North. Yes, that was Mukono North. And secondly, because of internal deliberations that happened in the party. If you remember, Honorable Chibule passed through unopposed in the NRM primaries, and I am the one who nominated him actually. That was after long deliberations in the party. and an understanding that when the Yala time comes, I would be the one going. But those are internal now. So there are members who contested in that election and lost. Now, having lost in that election, now they are jumping ship to come to Yala, which I think as a person is not being honest. It is just being opportunistic. Secondly, we have members in the party that already have positions. NRM as a party should look at extending our leader base and our pool of leaders. If somebody is already serving in a certain position, it will not be wise
to give them more responsibility.
To give them more responsibility.
When
there are those who don't have any responsibility, yet they are more able, more willing, and probably more suitable. So I have confidence in the Central Executive Committee that once they sit and start deliberating on the 23, they will honestly come to the logical conclusion that it is me this time who is suited, because I've been patient, I've told the party line, I've done everything that I've been asked to do. I have the qualifications, I have the ability, and the focus to represent our country and our party in the East African Legislative Assembly.
How does Yala benefit partner states? And because it's one thing for we to know that Council Nsubuga Kenneth is a member of parliament representing us at the regional parliament in Arusha. But back home here, people know why they vote for their members of parliament. People know why they vote for their representatives. And we want to just put some understanding to this, because you're not going to be the first to go to Yala. From when Yala has actually been here, we've seen quite a number of them. We've even had an opportunity to chair, to be the speakers of Yala. We saw Margaret Izwa, then the Honorable Chidega. We've actually been there. We've seen our own people at the regional assembly. And the most important thing is, how do you benefit us?
Everything that is done in the East African Legislative Assembly, as I told you, it's just an organ of the East African Community. Is based on the East African Community Treaty.
Yes. Because
the treaty highlights 4 areas of cooperation among the partner states, of course in line with the objectives. Because the objectives were to widen and deepen the cooperation among these partner states in the political, economic, social affairs, but for mutual benefit. It is not one country benefiting against the other, but the relationship has to be symbiotic. Now the 4 areas, common market, common customs, then common market, then after common market, monetary union, then from there, political federation. And I think the last one is what President Museveni has been emphasizing all along. We need a political federation, a federation of East Africa. But it is a sequence. So now, common market, if you remember very well, in 2005, we had the East African Customs Union Protocol, which came to harmonize the customs between the partner states. Here, we had the establishment of the common external tariff. We had the elimination of the non-tariff barriers. Then we had the establishment of the East African rules of origin. This is why, previously, if you got a car from Dubai, you would pay the taxes in Kampala. You would even pay some taxes when transporting the vehicle from Mombasa to the border in Busia. But right now, you can take the car to Mombasa and pay taxes in Mombasa and bring the car to Uganda.
The car to Kampala.
Exactly. Because of the EC Customs Union Protocol, we have created the border ports.
The one-stop border points.
Yes, the one-stop border points. Because of the Customs Union Protocol, we've gone ahead and established customs valuation manuals, where now states know and the traders know that if I'm going to deal in this, these are the taxes I pay. They are uniform in Tanzania, they are uniform in Kenya, they are uniform in Uganda. Now, after the Common Customs Protocol, then we had the Common Market Protocol of 2010. This one came in to facilitate movement of goods, movement of persons, movement of services. Of course, it has challenges, but the idea was that you, Jagenda, like me now, I'm a lawyer here, if I want to go to Kenya and start practice there, I would just go and start practice there. If I want to go to Tanzania, I would just go
start a farm in Tanzania.
Start a farm in Tanzania. That was the idea. Though the challenge the common market protocol is facing is harmonization, because once the East African Legislative Assembly and the EC, East African Community, passed the protocol, it was understood that the local parliaments of the partner states would harmonize their laws to be in tandem with what the protocol is saying. I think that is now what is taking long for the clear realization of the free movement of persons, the free movement of goods amongst the partner states.
Why would you want to go to Yala, Mr. Nsubuga, Councillor Nsubuga? Because I'm looking at the 4 issues that you've talked about, and you've talked about the monetary union, you've talked about the customs union, you've talked about the political federation, which is the ultimate, and we've also talked about, which is the other? We talk about the common union, the monetary union, the
political federation.
And I'm looking at all these. We want to understand, because ultimately, this is what we want to see a united East Africa.
Absolutely.
And like you're saying, you want to move from East Africa, you want to move from Uganda, go and practice
East African Federation.
Exactly, and have it just like that. And very important now, why I would now want to ask you, you being in Yala, you going to represent Uganda to be one of those in one of the organs that form the ESC.
Absolutely.
What is your contribution? What do you want your contribution to be to ensuring that ultimately we achieve what they call the ESC integration, which is the ultimate goal for all of us?
My answer is twofold. The first one is in line with what a member of Yala should do. What are the cardinal functions of the East African Legislative Assembly? That is to do the legislative function of the East African community. Of course, being a lawyer, I wouldn't have any problems with that legislative function. Then approval of the budgets of the East African community. Then discussions, recommendations, looking at reports and everything. So the legislative functions of the East African Legislative Assembly that a member should do. I, as Nsubuga, I think I'm very capable and able to do those functions. But as a person, there are things you look at and say, if I'm given that opportunity, at least I can make that contribution. For example, one, we have a problem of awareness and sensitization of the Ugandan citizens to what the East African community is all about and the integration itself. Pass on the streets of Kampala. People don't know. Yet these people are the ones that are being affected by these protocols that we, assuming I go as a legislator, are going to pass. So we need, if you are a Ugandan member in the Yala, come back to Uganda, because it's the country that sent you. Make avenues to see that the citizenry are sensitized, are aware of what you're doing, and how these protocols, the common market protocols, these customs, are affecting the traders in Chikubo, are going to affect the professionals who want to go and work in these countries, and then you have a discussion, which is lacking. That is my one area. The second area, when you have like traders in Uganda going to Southern Sudan and getting problems, which they are not supposed to get, we don't have any redress mechanism to handle their grievances. They go to Minister of Trade, they will make petitions to the President, the Minister of Foreign Affairs will come in, but...
And the ESCG has nothing to do with that?
Now, my point is, as a member of the East African Yala, given the fact that we are in this community, we need to define a mechanism for grievances, that if traders in Uganda, if workers in Uganda, if this happens in violation of the protocol, what are the sanctions? That is one. Two, what can we develop a body that can do a follow-up and help these people, despite of sending them to these bureaucratic institutions and frameworks that are in place. Then three, we need to look beyond the trade-centered integration. Everything from ever since IARA started is about trade integration. We need to start embracing and promoting social, ideological, cultural, networking in the region. I was talking to somebody previously, and I was looking at SADC. the bloc that
Southern Africa.
Southern Africa, and I was looking at them in ideas of sport. SADC goes out of its way to promote footballers from those regions. As I'm talking now, Zambia has about 4 players in the English Premier League. And I don't have to tell you about the income that comes with these ones, their families and the country. East Africa, Kenya has none now.
In the Premiership?
In the Premiership.
In those
elite leagues. Tanzania has none. Uganda has none.
Kenya doesn't have.
It had Wanyama, but he went to the US.
Yes, it had Wanyama.
I think Burundi had one, but he was naturalized to play for England. Then Rwanda doesn't have. So I want to use this opportunity, if it is given to me, to divert, not divert as such, but amplify the scope of the East African community, to stop looking at trade-centered integration only, but look at other things. That sport is one of them. Let's look at food security. East Africa has very fertile soils. Why isn't the East African community starting to think about food security, making protocols and legislations that make it incumbent amongst member states to make sure that there is food security? Go to medicines and vaccines. We've been battling with COVID. I was looking at the president the other time in agony, saying Russia is not sending us vaccines, India is not sending us vaccines, we have the problem with China, and we had a shortage. But the capacity of Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Burundi, Rwanda, Southern Sudan, if the scientists come together as a bloc, I don't think it can take us even 2 months to come up with vaccines that are going to help the region. So, of course, common currency, we've talked about it. You cannot talk about integration, common markets, free trade when you're using different currencies. That is why the European bloc brought the euro. That's why the dollar is used in America. So if we want to think about meaningful integration, we should do increase the speed amongst member states for us to start using one currency. Because now, if you're exchanging Ugandan shillings to Kenyan shillings, you know the rate. If you're exchanging Ugandan shillings with the Tanzanian, you know the rate. But if we had a unified currency, then you trade, and whatever the objectives of ESC were would be quickly achieved. Of course, lastly would be the political federation. I was impressed with the His Excellency, the Deputy President of Kenya, when he came to Uganda recently,
Dr. Ruto,
reaching out to his senior counterpart, our beloved General Owere Wilson, that since he's the senior in the region, he needs to spearhead and fasten the process of this East African Federation.
That, of course, President Museveni has been doing. I want us to take a break very shortly, but when we return from the break, there are certain things of reality that I want us to get into. For example, you just talked about food security, and not so long ago we had a problem with our counterparts in Kenya when we had problems of aflatoxin in our maize, and you think so. We've had a problem where you've seen our members of parliament, especially those along the border districts that border with Kenya, also talking about the problem of sugarcane trade between the partner states, and we need to look at these realities and actually, because it's one thing to tell the people that yes, we're trying to integrate, we're trying to come together, but yet again, when it comes to, we think there's some integration between Nsubuga and another member of parliament and another member of Yala in Tanzania, and those are there's some integration there. But when it comes to Nsubuga, a farmer in Kampala, and another Semakola, a farmer in maybe Mwanza, we do not see this integration. And when you talk about even the commercial integration that you talk about has also got a lot of flaws. And that's what we, I think, need to put some understanding to. But let's take a break and return shortly and continue with the conversation.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Therefore, understanding this model.
Airtel Chillax bundles and browse like a queen.
Get Airtel Chillax bundles that do not expire and browse like a queen or king. Dial *175# or use My Airtel app.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Echa COVID-19 chijja kugwa. If we get vaccinated now, observe social distancing, wear masks properly, sanitize or wash our hands with soap and water regularly. Together we can defeat this enemy.
The Executive Director of CRD Uganda. I'm here to appeal to the public to wash your hands even when you're at home, because there are other diseases like cholera, dysentery and typhoid that are associated with sanitation. Please wash your hands wherever you're from, using the toilet, wherever you're from, touching anything, wash your hands, keep the sanitation. Some people, when they're at home, they are very reluctant to wash their hands. Please wash your hands. Use soap. Make sure that your hands are clean. You don't just touch anything, because other diseases are associated with sanitation, and hygiene is very important at home. Mothers, take care of your children. Encourage them to wash their hands. Fathers, do the same, so that we can stop the problems that are associated with sanitation. Other diseases also can kill people every time and every now and then. So please, I encourage you to wash your hands with soap. Make sure they are clean. If they are children, help them. The children can be helped by the parents wherever they are washing their hands, because they may not know how to do it. Please don't be reluctant. Don't give up and don't just relax. Keep washing your hands with soap. Keep washing your hands with water. Make sure that there is enough water at home for the people to wash their hands.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Well, it's Good Morning Uganda Extra. Welcome back from the short break. We continue with the rest for Yala, and in studios with me is Council Kenneth Nsubuga of the National Resistance Movement. And one of the 23 contestants, 4 at the slot at Yala to replace the late Honorable Matia Kasamba, who was Uganda's representative at the regional parliament, who died not so long ago. And the position is now up for grabs, and 23 of them want it. Here in studios with me is Council Nsubuga. Council Nsubuga, we were talking about integration, and it just seems like there's integration at some particular level. When you get to the summit, when you get to the Council of Ministers, when you come to Yala, we seem to see this. When we come at the East African Court of Justice, where we have Ugandan representatives, we have many of these, we've seen them work. And at that level, we now have the Court of First Instance, and then the appellate court. At that level, we seem to see some semblance of integration. But when it comes to the Wananchi, it is where we seem to see a lot of challenges happening. How do you intend to inculcate this integration to even we at the Wananchi who trade from Mungura, come back to Busia, Uganda, then go back to Siad and maybe the other parts of Kenya and continue with business?
I addressed that when I was telling you that we need to create awareness and sensitization of the Ugandan citizenry such that they understand what the East African cooperation is all about and the cooperation. But there's something you raised before we went to the break about standards. What Ugandans should know that the East African community, what was developed was a catalogue of standards. Our Bureau of Standards here, and the Bureau of Standards of Kenya, the Bureau of Standards of Rwanda, the Bureau of Standards of Burundi, and that one, all of the member states developed the East African community catalogue of standards. If maize is the commodity, what should be the standards? If wheat is the commodity, agreeable to all the standards. So now, if Uganda lowers the standards, Kenya is not obligated, just because we are under the treaty, to take the low quality maize. And that's why I was telling you that we need a body with sanctions. Two, a body that can handle grievances and come out with quick solutions. Of course, I was impressed by the Minister of Trade here and Agriculture. Once that happened, they got in touch with their counterparts. Of course, the Secretariat also came in and the matter was resolved. So, but Ugandans need to understand what the integration is all about. We shall not just be sitting in offices, going to Arusha. We need to come and explain in different forums, so that Ugandans understand what a common market means, what free trade means, what are the non-tariff barriers, what are the benefits, what are the challenges. People don't understand these things. And I think that is what has been lacking. Moreover, we even have a Minister of East African Affairs here, but I think that has been lacking. I've been called in several seminars, in several workshops to teach these things, but I think you teach to the same people. When I look in the audience, I see the same people in this workshop, I see the same people in another workshop. So probably this is a message to the ministry. We need probably to take these workshops, probably at district level, such that we don't have to be teaching the same things to the same people over and over again.
When you look at the African Union and its formation, now African Union has got about 8 regional bodies, ESC being one of them. You talked about SADC and of course all the others. You notice that the ESC has much more awareness than all the other bodies in the region. But even when you cascade it and come back to ESC, you'll notice that in Uganda, we tend to understand regional integration more than the other partner states. And I want to take you on as a representative of Uganda, that yes, I don't know how it has happened, whether it's by design or default, that Ugandans take, for example, the East African anthem was composed by Kenyan Mr. Richard Kadambi. But surprisingly, Ugandans know how to sing the East African anthem, written in Kiswahili, more than Kenyans do. More than
sure?
Yes, more than Kenyans do. That I'm very sure about that. Whether they understand the meaning of the words or no, but they know how to sing the anthem. When you ask Ugandans to sing the East African anthem, you would find so many Ugandans singing it than Kenyans. But the song itself was actually composed by Kenyans. And I'm tending to think, we seem to be the biggest drivers, we as Ugandans, over regional integration. What would your role be as a member of parliament, as a member of the East African Legislative Assembly, to quicken this? And not to look like, because when many people talk about, for example, you talked about the political federation as one of the organs, or as one of the aspirations of the coming together. And people look at it as though it is President Museveni of Uganda, who is very much pushing to be the president of East Africa. And that's why it gets, you know, when you talk about East African affairs, say, no, he's been president in Uganda for so much time, so he's tired of possibly being in Uganda and he wants now to be the president of the region. It gets to those levels, and it tends to pull others behind to show that Ugandans are possibly just selfish about it. But we are the drivers of this thing. What do you think you need to do as a member of parliament to ensure that
I
it
think
gets there?
My fellow Ugandans should shy away from the politics of discussing people, because President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni is the president today, but he won't be the president of Uganda forever. Every 5 years we go to elections. Much as I know that is very popular, like he has just won this election, he might even win in 2026 if he decides to come back. But
or he can even decide not to come.
That is his personal choice.
That's what we're saying. So if he personally chooses not to come.
But we, NRM cadres, are much comfortable with him coming back in 2026 anyway. That's a by the way. But my answer lies in the anthem itself. When you look at it, one people, one destiny. I think it is taught in our primary schools.
In some primary schools, yes.
They sing it every morning. Maybe that's why Ugandans know how to sing it.
We sing it in church. In my church, we do sing it.
But when you look at the anthem itself, it has very many good words, very many inspiring words, and actually it represents in its entirety what the East African community is all about. It tells us to guard our community, be committed, such that we can prosper. Unity is the anchor. Long live the community. I think that is the chorus of the anthem. Then it is about prayer, to pray for the member states. It's about enabling people to live in peace. Because if Kenya has a problem, it affects Uganda. You remember when they had conflicts, the rate of petrol here went to about 10,000. If Tanzania has problems, it affects. So the anthem tells us to live in peace, such that we can fulfill our objectives. Patriotism talks about patriotism and togetherness. Talks about peace being the foundation of our unity. It talks about to guard our independence and the peace. I remember in these elections we have just finished, the 2021 elections, we had issues of foreign powers trying to interfere with our local politics here. So the anthem, like you said, is it encompasses all of the aspirations of what we think the East African community should about. It talks about farms, it talks about industries, it talks about us working harder, talks about building a better community. So I encourage all Ugandans to learn it, to sing it, because it is the future. It is where we are going. Look at the industries that we have in Uganda. Namanve, Nakaseke, Gulu, Mbale, whatever is produced in those industries, our local market cannot consume it. We cannot consume all the milk we produce in Uganda. We cannot consume all the matoke. You remember just the period when the border was closed and people were not taking matoke to Rwanda. It was a disaster. Trucks packed for kilometers. This shows you that the East African Federation, the East African trade protocols are beneficial to the Ugandans. So they should learn these things. They should get concerned. They should stop itemizing the whole East African project as a Museveni project, that he wants to be the president of East Africa. Who says? He has been president of Uganda for some time. He still loves being president of Uganda. We still love him being president of Uganda. The federation can be created and another person becomes the leader of the federation. But before you even think about the political federation, like I told you, let's perfect the 3 steps before you go to the political federation. Common customs, common market, monetary union. Then once those are working properly, then the idea of the language actually, because I think Kiswahili is the universal accepted language, but how many Ugandans know it? What is the percentage of Ugandans that speak fluently? So we need to first work on those, and then after we think about political federation.
Okay, very, very important. But the other thing that I also want us to put into understanding here is the legislation now. As for you, members of the Legislative Assembly, as opposed to the Pan-African Parliament in Johannesburg, that does more of an advisory role and not necessarily to legislate, EAC legislates.
Exactly.
EAC passes bills, laws, protocols, and quite a number of the things. And I want to look at their effect severally and over the years, those that would imagine and say, okay, for us as a region to actually achieve this, then these are the laws that we need to put into place. These are the laws that we need to make sure that they are here. And the respect that we even attach to those. I am looking at the Assembly itself. I know that there are different legislations that have been passed over the years. But even how much do we respect these laws, how much do we respect these legislations, and how much do we even implement them at maybe the state level before we even get to the community?
2 things. Actually 3 things. 1, what is the basic principle of international law? a treaty is justiciable in a local jurisprudence. When you're listing the law applicable in Uganda, the constitution, the written laws, and where do treaties fall?
Case laws and
exactly, where do treaties fall? That is one. Two, once a country ratifies a treaty or a protocol,
it becomes part of
what are its international obligations? Then three, this I actually mentioned it earlier. You cannot have a treaty, you cannot have a protocol, you cannot have a legislation without sanctions. Yeah, just like all laws have to have sanctions, that if you do this, you are penalized like this. If you do this, you're penalized like this. If you don't do this, this happens. Now we need to start thinking about sanctions in those legislations. But most importantly, member states have to have a cardinal role of, I talked about it, it's called harmonization of these laws. It doesn't help anybody where EC says common market protocol, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. Then in the local legislation, for example in Uganda here, I'll give you an example. If somebody wants to come to Uganda and practice law, and he doesn't have qualifications in Uganda, when you come, you make an application to the law council, but there are processes you go through before you can be given a practicing certificate.
Even when you didn't attend back course in Uganda?
Yes.
Okay.
There are processes you go through. Actually, they even have to go to LDC to sit some papers. Like
you do some papers at LDC?
Then you have to be under an advocate here in Uganda for some time. So now that is in our local laws. That shows you that what is in our local laws is not reflective of what the
assembly does,
what the protocol says. So we need to impress it upon member states that once East African legislation passes a protocol, since you are signatories to this treaty, since all of you want this thing to work, you need to harmonize. Rwanda actually even has that problem when you go there to do business. I'm told when you register a company, it has to have a local shareholder with a percentage.
And you are an East African region.
And yet they're in the East African region. When you go to Southern Sudan, it is even worse. Getting a license to do business there is a hurdle. And sometimes Ugandan businessmen have gone there, you do business, and enemy money comes and takes it away. My brother Baram has had a long fight. Has had a long fight. There was a general in Southern Sudan who wanted to take over his business there. So these are the things that we feel, if I'm given the opportunity to become a member, these are things I will be talking about. These are the things we'll be bringing practical solutions. These are things that we know are happening, so we'll be advising. But most importantly, a country like Uganda has a legislative agenda because we are 9 members. I don't want anybody to come here and confuse you and deceive you that is going to do it alone. That I in Suvuga am going to be running heaven on earth to do X, Y, Z. That's not how politics works. That is not how governance is done. Okay. It is a team of 9 people. One, you have to have teamwork. 2, what is the legislative agenda of NRM, my party, and 2, of Uganda as a country. Okay. So we need to follow the agenda. We need to follow what my party says, but while doing that, your interests as a legislator also have to come at the forefront. Exactly.
On movement of persons, it's okay. We living in a community that is visa-less, that you can go to Kenya without a visa, Tanzania, and also stuff like that. But the other problem is we are East Africans, and when you cross over to go to Dar es Salaam, for example, the moment you land at Mwalimu Nyerere International Airport, then the next thing is you're asked how long you're going to stay in this country. How does that even, how do we even think about that in a country or in a region that we talk about integration?
Free movement.
We talk about free movement, but the moment you get to Kenya, then they ask you, utalala siku ngapi hapa? You know, you need to state how many days you're staying. But you would imagine, I am moving from Uganda to Kenya, same like I would move from Kampala maybe to Kabale, because I don't expect to get to Kabale and get into some hotel somewhere, and I'm actually asked how long I'm staying there. You know, for people to know that you're supposed to be in Kabale for just 1 week, and after 1 week, please leave Kabale and go back. What plans do you have for that particular challenge and issue?
I always tell my students when teaching that a journey of 1,000 miles starts with 1 step. Remember the time when you needed a visa to go to Kenya? You remember a time when you needed a visa to go to Tanzania? Now you've just told me that you don't need a visa. It is visaless. I think we shall come to a situation where we are going to even have a passport, which we have actually.
The ESC passport.
The ESC passport and the national ID as an East African. So let's move step by step. So these are the things that we need to get from the people and then forward them to the relevant bodies and discuss them, the practicability, engage the partner states. How do they feel about if I live here and go to Kenya, can I go and buy land there and settle there? Because, for example, a Kenyan cannot come to Uganda now and buy Mairo land. Okay. If you want Mairo land, we convert it in 12 years of 99 years because you are taken to be a national. So what does the law in Kenya say about that? So these are things that the partner states need to continuously engage. That is why you need somebody in the East African Legislative Assembly who is sober, who knows, because at least me I know. I have researched these things, I have taught them, I know, who will be able to engineer that debate, who will add value to the debate and the discussion, not somebody who's just going to fill a place, not somebody who will just go there and say, I'm entitled, because I'm so and so it should be me to go, not somebody who just wants to retire. I have served long in government, so give me this slot for me to go and retire there. So I'm thankful to my president, Owere Wilson, when he was swearing in. He said the time has come. We need now the children of the revolution to start taking up leadership positions. I'm 37 now. I think I fall in that category. I will be an asset to the party, to the Legislative Assembly. So I'm calling upon all NRM members of parliament. All NRM members of parliament, I've contacted all of them and they are all very promising and they are all telling me they are going to vote for me. I'm requesting them once again that once the time comes, they look at me as somebody who is going to add to the team, not somebody who's going to subtract to the team. What
are the stakes like now back to the National Resistance Movement Party, which is supposed to vote for you? I don't know when. When are the elections?
SEC is supposed to sit today,
okay,
if I'm not mistaken, because expression of interest ended yesterday. So the Central Executive Committee is supposed to sit today, look through all of the people who have expressed interest. Of course, there are some internal things we need to look at. Honorable Kasamba was from Central Region. When you look at the 6 members from NRM,
they are
distributed per regions. Okay. We have one from North, one from East, one from Western. So Honorable Kasamba represented the Central Region. So there is a thinking that it has to be somebody from the Central Region. But I've seen applicants from other regions. So that will be a matter for SEC to settle. Then in Uganda here, if we come to Central Region, Greater Masaka has one time had a member in Iyala. Greater MPG has one time had a member. Greater Ruwero has one time had a member. It's only Greater Mukono
that has not had one.
That has never had any member in Iyala.
And trying to find
so I think this is our chance also as Greater Mukono. That is Buvuma Kayunga. Actually, even in Kampala has had Honorable Margaret as well. So it is Greater Mukono
that has not had representation.
That has not had representation. So we feel this is our opportunity to have one of our own from Greater Mukono being considered by the party.
Are you the only one from Greater Mukono?
I think so.
Okay.
To represent the party. 2, we need to increase the pool of our leaders in NRM. It is like a football team. Once you have Ronaldo, you've seen his qualities. You know what he can do. Once you have this one, you've seen his qualities. You know what he can do. It is always important and better to bring new faces. NRM in the last elections of 2021, we did not perform well in Uganda. It is a necessary implication of that we need to bring more hope and bring new blood in the pool of leaders of NRM we have in Uganda. Otherwise, if you bring back the same faces, then you are not solving any problem. You can't be cooking beans every day and expect to be served with a meal that has beef.
Okay.
So I'm looking at SEC, strategically looking at all of this. the age bracket, the ideas, who adds to the party, what this one brings. This one we have seen, this one has been a minister for 20 years, we know his abilities. This one already has this position, so we need this new person who is articulate, who can do this, who can talk like this, who can work like this. So me, I'm confident that my chances once we go to the Central Executive Committee will be very, very high.
And very finally, this is a battle for NRM.
Yes, please.
And I'm thinking nobody is out of NRM. Nobody is not within the NRM. And all of you, by and large, might be flag bearers of NRM, I'm thinking. If SEC maintains all of you the 23.
Then we go to the NRM parliamentary caucus first. And they vote in the caucus. So
the flag bearer should be.
Exactly. So the caucus comes out with the person who gets the highest number of votes in the caucus will become the member. I don't know if you've understood that.
In the caucus will become the flag bearer.
That's the person they will send to Parliament for Parliament to consider.
Okay, then what happens to those that I'm thinking? What happens to those that have not been voted for by the caucus?
You see,
Can they come as independents?
I believe in discipline.
Okay.
And because I like football as a sport. If you enter a field and you're a player, and a referee gives you a red card,
you move out of.
Whether you agree or you don't agree,
you get off the pitch.
You get off the pitch. So if members have committed themselves to the process that we are going through SEC, we are going through the NRM. If you are not chosen, it is not the end of the world. The party has several other assignments you can be given, several other things you can do. You can even continue doing your work, because many of us are party members who've been doing work for the party, unofficially, by the way, unofficially, but we continue doing our things. It's not the end of the world. So me, I will abide by the outcome of the Central Executive Committee and the NRM electoral process. If I'm chosen, I'll be honored to represent my party, my country, and my fellow Ugandans. If I'm not chosen,
life continues
serving in different capacities.
Well, thank you so much, Council Kenneth Nsubuga. Council Kenneth Nsubuga is one of the 23 trying to vie it out for the slot to represent Uganda at the East African Legislative Assembly, taking over from the late Matia Kasamba, who had died not so long ago. We wish you the best, and we don't shake hands, but because of COVID. But I want to wish you the best and say, if it comes your way, then go and represent us. The rest of us will be here to commentate, to see you and maybe to cheer you and say, well, he's a man, let's see what happens.
Much obliged.
Thank you very much. For God and my country, my name is Jagenda Semakola. Stay blessed for today. We'll talk again tomorrow. Blessings and good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda